season.
He's a
'Cause
Rule 5 after this year, though.
He won't. Do you think they won't protect him?
No,
They'll just let him go.
I don't think anybody will take him.
Because he's expensive as crap.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not really in the grand scheme of things, but like for a guy who's only pitching at the AA level.
Taking that long to get to AA?
Yeah, well, he lost a ton of velocity. What, maybe 3 years ago? He sucks. Like when I saw him pitch for Peoria, he was awful.
He has an over 2 whip for Tennessee.
Yeah.
So they paid
I bet
him.
they'll just release him.
He was guaranteed $6 million when they signed him. With let's see.
Whatever happened to Taiwan Walker? Not Taiwan Walker. Taiwan Easterling.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
That's a good question. I don't know.
He's gone. He's not in the system anymore.
Look,
I've tried. I not that long ago I looked up trying to figure out what happened to him, and
it's weird that players just retire. Like I noticed the other day that Austin Reed retired.
Yeah.
He's like 23, and he's like, it's just not really working out. I made it up to like Myrtle Beach or AA, I can't remember, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and retire.
But you know what? You might do that if you know that you're not gonna. If you know you don't have what it takes, and you want to like have a family or something like that, you might.
Right. Or if you've got the guys who already have all their money.
Yeah.
Like for example, Concepcion, his money is spread out over the like 6 whatever the term of the contract, so he's got to keep playing. Versus a guy who got a huge signing bonus and that was it. He can just walk away.
Well, and even if you didn't, I mean, it's like if you know you're not going to make it, you can make more money in the real job market.
Hey, Jumbo Diaz. What was he? He was in the minors for like 13 years, and now he's finally.
Yeah, don't give up on your dreams.
Especially if your name is Jumbo.
Keep maintain those jumbo-sized dreams.
Fat guys don't give up.
Or if you just want to maybe go back to college, if you were somebody that college was, you were a good student. And
I doubt Jumbo Diaz was a great student.
No,
I don't know Jumbo. I'm just guessing.
Listen to you getting all Colin Cowherd up in here.
Colin Cowherd. Don't ever compare me to Colin Cowherd.
It's good. Ever. Feels like the herd up in here.
Oh, I'm so glad you get fired. Oh,
Jay Moore.
Yeah.
What the fuck does Jay Moore have a sports show?
I love it that Colin Cowherd got fired.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he got fired because he said that Dominicans are stupid. That's kind of what he said.
Oh.
Something about how it doesn't. I'm just paraphrasing, but something about how like baseball doesn't take a lot of like intelligence to play because look at all the Dominicans that are playing.
Oh.
Ouch.
Wow.
So then he got fired from ESPN, but of course he's got a new contract with Fox, so.
Right.
He probably hasn't flown over the island and seen how green the Dominican side is compared to the Haitian side.
Doesn't take intelligence to grow grass.
No, that's true. Good point.
Or trees.
I'm gonna have to go grab another grain belt before we start.
Are you guys sounding like robotic to each other? Or is it just me?
Everything sounds fine to me.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
To adjust my screen here.
So for the live viewers, we will get going here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Only 15 minutes late.
Yeah, I needed the time actually. I was not prepared.
Yeah, I'm not.
We went to the zoo today, so.
Oh.
But not.
I'm not super prepared just because I'm tired.
So you liked Loveland Pass?
Oh man, it was so awesome.
I know.
So awesome.
So like when I graduated from college, well, actually I went an extra semester, so I graduated in December, and then it's like right after we graduated, me and a couple of my buddies just like got in his Jeep and drove out there, and we snowboarded that like one of the days, but it was incredible. But you had to hike the whole thing because there's no lifts there. But
yeah, so we hiked. You know where the sign is?
Mm-hmm. That's where we started.
So did you go to the east one or the west one?
Well, I just I don't know what direction you're facing, but if you're looking at the peaks off in the distance, the peak to the far left, the shortest distance, that's where we hiked.
So that's the one that's not quite as steep as the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one we did too.
But we were hiking it in like 3 feet of snow
Oh man, I wouldn't have even attempted that. It's so
With-
steep.
with backpacks and gear.
No way. No.
It was I almost died, but it was the best. It was the craziest and coolest thing I've ever done. And then when you get there, the snow blows from the backside, so it creates this giant ridge on the peak.
Oh yeah.
And it was like probably about 15 feet off, and you just had to jump.
Oh.
But
man.
the snow is so deep, it's like landing on a mattress. It didn't, it was nothing.
Oh, this is. I don't know. I stood up there and I was just like, I told Tawny like I've never wanted to like cremation has never appealed to me. But I was like, if I die,
I just drank a Pliny.
no, if you're going to cremate me, this is exactly where I want you to spread my ashes.
It
Like,
is.
just
It
toss
is
me in the
beautiful.
air. Because it was.
Just toss me in the air.
I could have sat up there. I could have sat there for days. Like I told Tawny, like if we didn't have the kids here, I would have just sat there for like 4 hours, just
Rolled a joint.
just staring at everything. It was amazing. It was
That is
so beautiful.
I've actually never seen it in the summer, but it's
Well, and we had no idea that it was even there. I mean, we just like we were so we
came
left.
upon it like accidentally.
Yeah, we were just driving, and I was like, oh, let's take this route because like we had enough time. We didn't have to take the interstate, so I was like, oh, there's only a couple of like back roads. Let's just take this, and we stopped a couple times, and then all of a sudden I saw some cars, and I was like, well, there must be a good lookout here, so let's stop here again. And we pulled over, and then I mean, we didn't even know that's what it was until we walked up on that sign.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was the prettiest thing I've ever seen. It was amazing.
Yeah, I did like that too. Because then we just had somebody wait with a truck at the bottom, and you take turns, and we go back up.
Man,
Right.
that's a long way down.
Well, it is a long way down, but if you have a truck to drive you back up to the top, it's not that big deal.
Oh,
Well, we only hiked to the ridge once, and then the
Okay.
rest of the times you just take off from the sign and just ride down.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, the hiking was insane.
There was still snow up there.
Yeah. It was like what, 12 or 13,000 feet, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It's right at 12.
Yeah.
So I think we hiked to like 12 and a half. But like I could not believe like I could not get my breath. Like I mean,
Yeah.
and everybody else was like that. Like you pass everybody and they're like, because I mean the air is just so thin up there.
Yeah.
And I guess Jacob said that a lot of people actually get sick. Like you get height, like elevation sickness or something.
Yeah, you need to get acclimated by establishing a base camp and then going up and then back down.
You need a base camp at like 8,000 feet. And
Well, I'm surprised. He said he was surprised that we didn't end up throwing up. But at one point, I had to sit down because I got so lightheaded that I felt like I was going to pass out. And it wasn't even like, I mean, I'm not in shape right now, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm just out of shape. It was like the air is so thin up there, you just can't. You're just not getting enough oxygen. And then what's weird is the higher we went, it was cooler, but we were hotter. And I think it's because our hearts were beating so fast because we weren't getting enough oxygen or whatever. I don't know. That was my theory on it.
Who knows? I was only 22 then, so I couldn't do it today.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. Like, in fact, we went through a town that's kind of like it's not far from that. It's maybe about, I don't know, 15 miles from there, minutes from there, and we went through there. It's a town we've always driven by and wanted to stop in and check out. And Tawny was like, "That house is exactly where I want to live." Like she found it, like it was an awesome little house. She's like, "That's where I want to live." And then I looked today, and it's on Airbnb.
Nice.
But it was awesome. I'm really glad we took extra time there. So, all right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I got to send out my push. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Tawny said she wanted to go back in like September. She's like, let's just make it a long weekend. Well, I mean,
How many are you guys keeping track of how many miles you've driven this year?
oh my gosh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are we gonna not do muscle flexes tonight? Because I mean, there's got to be. I don't know. It's just gonna make us more depressed. Or do you guys want to? Are we planning on doing it?
I didn't look one up.
I have a couple.
I have a scary stat, but I don't have a muscle.
I have a couple, but like nothing like over the top.
Okay.
I'll explain why when I read it. If you want to have one or two, it'd be all right.
Okay.
If you don't want to, it's fine. Just a second, sorry. It was pretty amazing though that like the girls hung with it the whole time.
Kids are like invincible.
Yeah, I don't know. Kids have iPads now. They're not really like built to go like hiking up a mountain. Just just roll up on it. Like, oh hey, look at this mountain.
Well, there's an app for that though, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just Google Earth that.
Actually, I did Periscope from up there. So I walked all the way up, and then on my way down, I had Periscope going, so I could.
What do you mean there was a pond? So you
I
Periscope?
don't even know what that means.
What's like Meerkat?
Oh. See, I don't know. I'm 90 years old, real age, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Periscope.
Oh, you saw a meerkat up there?
Yeah. I didn't know they lived so high.
Is that standing on his hind legs?
Like,
Yeah. What's funny though is that like we were above like the tree line. There was only like a couple wildflowers. It was mainly just like nothing could grow up there. It was weird.
yeah, in the winter it's like a giant snowboard park up there
Yeah,
because you can drive right to it.
that's cool. I love it out there. If we did not live here at this house,
You and me both.
I would
Like
probably move to Colorado.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Actually, we should probably check
Test
our
levels.
Yeah, go ahead.
Testing levels, you and me. Testing levels, darling, can't you see? Testing levels.
That's amazing. Why did you stop?
All right, here we go. Hi, and thanks for downloading this episode of the IVMV podcast. This is our 335th episode. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Corey, and I am joined by the other two hosts of this podcast through a Google Plus Hangout.
Hi, it's Andy.
Because we use Google Plus, we're able to stream the live broadcast of these recordings. The summer schedule is a little more unpredictable, but we shoot for Sunday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central, and you can watch at ivmv.com/live. Let's get a few events out of the way here before we get into Cubs talk. Our bus trip is now less than 2 weeks away. I can't believe how quickly that came up on us.
Yeah, August. That's right around the corner.
I know. It's like summer's almost over, but I also can't believe that I have not been to a Cubs game yet this year, and you guys haven't either, right?
No,
Yeah,
but
that's
I haven't
surprising.
been to one, but I can believe it.
Well, I can't believe it.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I've always usually hit a couple of games by now, but it's just been such a chaotic summer. I just haven't been able to get up there, but I'm really looking forward to the bus trip. So what we do, we charter a bus and leave from the Quad Cities and head up to see the Cubs play. We're going to see them play the Giants. Yeah, that's August 8th. I believe that we have 2 tickets left. I know somebody is interested in them, and I've kind of been holding them for them. But they haven't paid yet, and so feel free to swoop in and take them from them.
Swoop.
Swoop down.
But it's kind of cool they're playing the Giants because didn't the Giants just take over the second
Right.
wild card?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Mets are going to hang. So I think if the Cubs can hang, which we're going to spend a lot of time talking about tonight, I hope I think that it will come down to the Cubs and the Mets, or the Cubs and Giants. So yeah, I kind of picked that game because I thought, oh, they're the reigning world champions, so that'll be fun. And I didn't really expect the Cubs to be in the middle of a wild card race with them. So worked out well.
Pretty cool, yeah.
Yep. So yeah, we have 2 tickets left, and you can find information at ivmv.com/bus. Then
Don't type in IVMV/bust because that's
you know how many times I have to type in emails and stuff like that, and it's bus trip, but I always type bust rip.
That's just your autofill. That's what you generally look up.
So then 2 weeks later, so that's August 21st through the 23rd, we are hosting our annual weekend at the lake, and that's out here at my place. So here's kind of how it's going to go down. I believe on Friday evening we're going to play some wiffle ball at Michael from Galesburg's wiffle ball field, which actually I'm heading over there tomorrow to help him put the finishing touches on painting the foul stripe on the wall on the green monster that he's got out there. But the wiffle ball is looking really good. He texted me a picture of it tonight, and I'm looking forward to taking a few swings out there. So we're going to do that on Friday. So camping, swimming, fishing, bonfires, really whatever you want to do out here. Where we camp, it's here at our place. So if it rains and stuff like that, there's always room inside to go. There's showers here, so it's not the full roughing it camping experience. We'll probably record an episode of the podcast at some point during the weekend. I would guess on Sunday, but at some point we will. Also on Saturday, we will head into Galesburg to watch the Cubs game at Duffy's. And if you've listened to our podcast for a while, you'll know that Duffy's is it's a special place. It's special to us, I think.
It is
special to me. I don't know about you guys, but it's special to me.
It's pretty special.
So it's always a great time, and I'm positive it will be again this year. So we're outside of Galesburg, Illinois. So if you live in the Chicago area and you're interested, the Amtrak line goes right into Galesburg, and we can pick you up there if this interests you. So if you're thinking about coming out for that, shoot me an email, Corey, Corey, at ivmv.com. So as I was kind of starting to put together this show today, I kind of thought, it's nights like this that I'm glad that we don't take phone calls on the podcast.
You think we would get some muscle flexes, or?
I just think it would be a really miserable. It would be a miserable hour and a half. That's for sure.
There's never been a day when I'm not glad we don't take phone calls. I hate radio phone calls. No offense, listeners, but I actually do. Oh, I will say I think our listeners are a little, above the average than the sort of AM talk radio, sports talk radio listeners. But
yeah,
they drive me crazy.
Yeah, I don't think we have. I don't think we're gonna get score callers.
Mm-mm.
We're already kind of miserable enough.
We don't need anybody pushing us further.
Well, I don't think Cubs fans are in a good place right now. It was not a good week.
Not at all.
No. So they split a 4-game series in Cincinnati, and then they were swept by the last place Phillies, a team that was heading into this series had a .351 winning percentage.
Is that the worst in baseball?
I'm not sure if they are now.
I don't either,
sure.
but they're pretty close to the worst.
Right. I kind of feel like there's a lot packed into this week. I think that the ugly week has kind of overshadowed and kind of killed the positive feelings that we had about the Schwarber game, or even the second game of that doubleheader on Wednesday when the Cubs somehow managed to put an inning together against Aroldis Chapman, and inexplicably Taylor Teagarden hit a 2-out RBI single off of Aroldis Chapman, which I just can't wrap my head around.
He was throwing like 102. I don't know if that pitch was 102, but he was lighting it up at 102.
Oh, Taylor Teagarden.
Well, I remember thinking when he came up to bat, I'm like, oh, great. Like, this is what we got to throw at.
Taylor, just stick the bat out there.
That's kind of what he did. I mean, but I mean, that's the obvious move, is to walk Soler there. I mean, I'd make that move every time, right?
I'm not sure Chapman. I don't think they need to walk anybody really. And watching him, I don't think he does intentionally walk many people, because in watching he's not good at walking.
That was the first one he's issued this season, I think. I saw somebody tweet. So, it was sketchy. Like the first one he nearly threw away, right?
And then the catcher, I can't think of his name right now, but he was like going off to the right and backing up.
Yes. Well, and then I remember there was that weird balk call on Rizzo, and then they were saying, like, there can be a catcher balk call if he leaves too soon. And they're like, well, after yesterday, I think maybe we might see that if he leaves too soon and he gets away from his position.
Huh. But I think the week had the potential to be really exciting. And I think that both of those wins, the Schwarber game and then that second game of the doubleheader on Wednesday, I think both those wins, they seemed like wins that we would remember at the end of the season. Like, those were memorable games. There was just something special about those two games.
But then they just got buried in a pile of misery.
Yes.
Right.
And the matchups look good. I mean, you had Lester Arrieta and Hamel going in this Phillies series.
Yeah.
So it looked like,
well, I thought the second two games of the Phillies, I mean, honestly, if you would have told me on Friday that the Cubs would get swept in this series, it wouldn't have shocked me, because and then they're facing Hamels and Nola today, and I thought, oh, you know what, like, I could just see the Cubs losing those two games, especially with how the offenses looked.
Yeah.
But there's something more, like, just depressing about actually seeing that happen, or the way they happened. I don't know.
Well, and it just goes to show that a team can be terrible and then just kind of get on a hot streak, and the Phillies have played well since the All-Star break, and just kind of the Cubs sort of caught them at a tough time.
Yeah.
So where? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I wonder how much sort of the Phillies players, knowing that this team's about to blow up, they're just gonna get dealt everywhere. That how much that has to do with playing. This is sort of the end of their season as a team. So I don't know if that matters or if it changes their mindset, but I think it does. I do.
I'm not necessarily ready to just give all the credit to the Phillies.
Yeah, got to give them a lot of credit.
Well, you do have to give credit to Cole Hamels. I mean,
you do, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I think the Cubs sucked.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not like these guys, the Phillies are just playing out of their minds. I think, I mean, Saturday, I have to admit, the no-hitter game, I was in the car driving back from Colorado.
Were you tracking it?
I was listening to it, and it seemed like the Cubs were getting good contact. They were just hitting it right at people. Yeah. And I have to admit, like,
freakish catches.
Well, and what was kind of frustrating, so the wind was blowing in that game, right?
Yeah, from right.
Yeah. So they had some warning track shots. Yeah. the wind's blowing in,
They had several warning track shots.
and you need a hit. You just need a hit. It seems like these guys. I mean, if you can, like, I don't know. I understand this is a stupid thing for me to say, but it's like just dunk one in there and get that one hit. I don't understand why, like, in the ninth inning, what, 2 of the final 3 outs, or was it an out? Let me think. Schwarber and Bryant each hit fly balls like to the wall.
Yeah, the final out was like the warning track.
Yeah, I don't know. It just didn't feel like there were. I don't know.
You just didn't want the Twitter handle at Cubs no hit streak to go away.
I did. Yeah. I did.
Which was, let's just recap, September 9th, 1965. Yeah. 7,920 games.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the last guy was Sandy Koufax. So.
Right.
I think that's okay. I mean,
yeah, we
don't want to see the Cubs no hit, but for all the people that are like, oh, it's the Cubs suck. Well, yeah. 7,920 games between no hitters.
It's amazing.
That's okay. It's a record.
It's amazing. Yeah. Like they didn't get no hit in like the 2013 season.
Yeah, right? So if you look at the 2 guys that Sandy Koufax to Cole Hamels, that's okay. At least it wasn't some number 5 starter.
Yeah, I don't know. I really wish that streak could have continued but I didn't watch a game. I just listened to it. So yeah, I don't.
I did. I actually watched. I would say 90% of it. So I haven't been able to watch a ton lately. And the 2 games I saw since we last recorded were the Schwarber game and that game. So I picked good ones to watch front, start to finish.
So where are you guys at with this team right now after this last week? I mean, I think a lot of Cubs fans are just like, I don't know, just like holding on to the ledge. I think they've jumped off the ledge and had second thought. Maybe they're just like holding on by a pinky. Because I'm amazed in looking at. I mean, I just kind of like browsed a little bit for internet muscle flexes, and I understand that obviously fans say this kind of stuff all the time, but I saw a lot of people just like, I'm done with this team, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah,
because they won't be when the Cubs win 2 or 3 in a row again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny to see so much. Like, look at how much better this team is than it was last year. Look at the just insane step of progress that they've made, and fans are just like besides themselves over.
Yeah.
Where are you guys at? Like, I'm frustrated with it, and I'll say I am not as confident in this team as I was a couple weeks ago.
But it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense though. It just goes to show how we become accustomed to how quickly we become acclimated to this team playing at a very competitive level this season. That this stretch of games has really gotten us down, and so I mean, really, it's a good reality check to those inflated expectations, because it's a good reminder that this team is young, and if at the beginning of the season, going into it as a rational thinker, we expected the youngsters to go through stretches where they struggle and are just the bats are cold, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't say my tone has changed a ton. Like Corey said, I'm a little frustrated with his short-term performance. But the funny thing is that the difference between a couple of weeks ago, or even a week ago, when we were talking about them and their sort of slump, is that they were slumping and still scratching out wins. Well, now they're slumping and just plain sucking. So they're still playing really poorly. They're just not scratching out a win here or there. And so I think performance-wise, they're generally the same as they have been. It's just that, so I don't know. I mean, my tone hasn't changed a ton. I think you have to expect this. For the people jumping off the ledge, calm down. We say this all the time, but calm down. Like, I don't understand the total reactionary craziness.
Yeah. I think I was just looking at the projected playoff probabilities on Fangraphs, and it seems like the Cubs were maybe around 50 or 55% maybe a couple of weeks ago, around the All-Star game maybe. It was the last time I looked. and right now it is at 42%. So I think with as well as the Giants have been playing, I don't know. I guess I guess my mood has kind of fallen with like. I guess what I'm trying to say is my hopes for the playoffs have kind of fallen in the last couple of weeks, just like their probability has, and I think that it's just.
But
but I have to remind myself of what my expectations were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And I was expecting 83 wins, and I think overall, like that, I think having that expectation and not really buying into all of the hype about this team early in the season has kind of made it easier to stomach the last month, really. And I think that it's the people that were caught up in all of the hype and all of the like media and sports talk radio hype about this team. I think those are the ones that are probably feeling a little bit more panicky right now.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
so I mean, surely that this has to be like one of the low points, one of the valleys of the season.
Yeah.
But this is how baseball seasons go. I mean,
right.
I think that's what sort of surprised me about baseball fans a lot is that how easy it is to forget that it's an incredibly long season in any professional sport. It's just insanely long. They're even talking about shortening it, but it's so long, and to flip out over a 3-game sweep, yeah, it's frustrating. I didn't like it either, but don't lose it.
Yeah, I'm not really that frustrated about losing 3 games in a row. It's just that like I'm ready. I'm so ready for this slump to end.
Yeah,
because it feels
the
like
offense has been
so
bad.
And it's been going on so long.
Yeah.
And like you said, early on in this slump, they were able to scratch out wins. It's not really happening now. But it's like, okay, like you can handle a slump that's a week, maybe 2 weeks. But this has been going on. I mean, it started like a week or two before the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, I am ready to see good base. I mean, I just, here's the offense is just really frustrating, and I did not expect the offense to sputter this much, considering the names in the lineup. And this really is the time of the season that I expected the Cubs to perform the best. And this is when I expected things to be clicking, and it's kind of the opposite at this point. And so that's the thing that kind of like just is discouraging, I guess. This is where I thought the Cubs might be able to pull away a little bit, maybe even like, how awesome would it be to get that first wild card spot, and I kind of thought like this is when a team is built on offense like this and has really good pitching, but they have the ability to score so many runs, and in like July and August it's going to be hot, and that's just when you would hope to see that, and we're seeing the opposite right now.
Doesn't it kind of make sense a little bit though that like the rest of the league would sort of figure out how to get Chris Bryant out, and how to approach Addison Russell, and doesn't it make sense the timing of these the offensive struggles a little bit?
Sure, but that's when you hope that guys like Castro step up.
Or Rizzo. Rizzo's been slumping incredibly lately. Strumpeting. But yeah, I think Rizzo more so than Castro. I mean, Castro's been terrible all year offensively, but we talked earlier about how great Rizzo's been, and his OBP's been awesome. Well, lately he's just been not even there, and that that's going to happen. But it's hard when your young guys are slumping. Your leaders are slumping. Everybody's kind of. But I also think. This isn't me sort of getting down on them, because I think this team has proven that they can go out the next day and just forget everything that's happened and turn it around. I'm sort of just waiting for that to happen.
I think so too, but man, in watching them today, it seems like that this team is kind of like in a bad place. They just seemed like their body language wasn't great. And I mean, granted, they were getting blown out, but their body language wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't like awful body language, but you could just tell. You could tell that obviously they were not happy, and it really seemed like they were just like sluggish, didn't they? They looked like a team that was just like in slow mo.
Yeah.
I don't like, well, especially watching Soler run all over trying to catch balls today. It was just like he was like always just like a half a step behind, and I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to try to end this on a positive note, a positive spin.
I can't wait to see you try.
So, in looking back on the last week, it really could have been a lot worse. I think the Cubs were pretty lucky to win those 2 games against the Reds, and they really could have lost all 7 games.
Yeah.
And those 2 wins, they were magic.
Yeah, the Schwarber game was incredible.
But yeah, I mean, who would expect Kyle Schwarber to do what he did in that game, and who would expect Taylor Teagarden to be able to ever hit Aroldis Chapman? I mean, like you and like the 3 of us would probably have about as good of a chance of hitting Aroldis Chapman as Taylor Teagarden.
I don't know about that, but he did make it to the majors. That's
true. We all kind of leveled out at AA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sniffed triple.
And then you became a coach for the Cubs.
Uh-huh. I player coached at AAA, but that's as far as I got.
Oh, so I don't know. The next question I have here that I was going to ask you guys, and I think we've kind of already gone through it, is this series loss against the Phillies, is it as bad as it seems? And actually, we have a Facebook question here. I'll get to the other questions later, but this one kind of fits in with that. It comes from Christopher, and he said, I'd like to know how we're trying to avoid a freaking sweep from the freaking worst team in baseball today. This was obviously before the game. This team is supposed to be different. Cole Hamels aside, there's no reason we shouldn't have taken 2 of 3 this weekend. Also, what do you think of yesterday? What do you think yesterday did to Hamels' trade value? And how ridiculous the Phillies are about trades in the first place. Will he be on the Cubs roster in coming days, or do you think someone will bow down and give them way too much for him?
Well, addressing that, I don't think he's a Cub. I don't think they're in the top couple teams. But yeah, I don't think he did. I think he definitely bumped his trade value slightly, but I think GMs are smarter than.
Well, I mean,
paying crazy amounts for, because his 2 previous starts were terrible, and GMs aren't gonna.
Yeah, what I was
one start.
When I turned the game off and I was thinking about what this meant for his trade value, and I was trying to put myself in the position of a GM, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he threw a no-hitter. Well, everybody knows that he is a no-hitter potential type of pitcher. What I don't like for now until the end of the year is how many pitches did he throw in that game? And I think it ended up being like 125 or 130 or something.
130.
That would matter to me more than if he didn't allow a hit in a particular game. And neither probably matter that much, but I'm just thinking like
129.
Yeah, so if I'm interested in him, I don't really care about the no-hitter. I don't necessarily want him throwing 130 pitches.
Well, so he has this one amazing game. He's also, I mean, you got to look at the entire body of work. He struggled in his previous 2 starts before this game, and it kind of all balances out a little bit. Yeah, he has no-hit potential, probably just. You super pumped up about this one no-hitter and not consider everything that he's done this season.
Right. Yeah, I don't think the Cubs are going to get him either.
I kind of hope not, because we know. I just don't. I think that the Cubs need to deal with the Phillies for this kind of guy right now. He's gonna go for probably more than Cubs fans would be comfortable with right now.
Yeah. Although I think they do have some Well, I don't know. Let's save this for the trade deadline talk, I
The
guess.
Phillies, they're gonna ask for crazy stuff.
Right. Was there anything about this last week that you guys wanted to talk about before we moved on? Can we talk about-
Maybe just one more like thumbs up to Schwarber. Like that's been like as crappy as this last week's been. Like watching him play has been an absolute highlight of almost the whole year, let alone the last week.
It was great to see him do that in his hometown.
Yeah.
Yeah, in front of a lot of family and friends too.
Right. So if we get speaking of which, if you guys have never at the Southern California meetup, I was noticing that they turned the Cubs game on, but they had the sound off and it was closed captioned. And I will say that JD is hilarious when you're watching a game. He is even more hilarious in closed captioning because you don't catch parts of what he's saying. Like I would just look up and it would be the most random thing. Like I can't even. I wish I almost took hurry up and pulled out my phone so I could take a picture. But like it was absolutely hilarious on closed captioning. But
I saw him say something to the effect of he becomes a better catcher with every line drive, or something like that. I thought that was kind of amusing.
He said something about cows or something, and I just glanced up and it was like I don't know, just one of those like JD jokes, you know.
He's hilarious, but it kind of flies under the radar a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So if we give a thumbs up to Kyle Schwarber, can we give a big thumbs down to Starlin Castro?
Oh yeah.
This season has been horrifying for him, and so in the last week. This was before today's game. He was 3 for 27. He went 0 for 2 today, so I guess make that 3 for 29. But yeah, before the game he was batting. His slash line was 111, 143, 148. So since the All-Star break, he is hitting 114, 139, 143. So on the season he's batting 235. That's about 45 points below his career average. His OPS this season is 574. His career average is 717.
Dang.
I mean, it has not been a good season for those of us that like Castro and support him, like I think the three of us do. It's really hard to defend his numbers right now, and he has been bad, really bad. And
he's worse than 13. Like he's worse. He's like everybody freaked out about 2013. He's way below.
Oh yeah. And it's weird because I kind of thought that Castro would step up when faced with competition from some of the middle infield prospects. What's that?
You just cannot hit the ball not on the ground.
Right.
Just
you can't hit the ball not on the ground. I like that.
That's what I said. No, every time he swings, it's just a little deaf to short.
Yeah. At this point, I think if Baez is rehabbing or goes to Iowa and he's hitting the ball well in those places, I'm okay with Castro losing some starts to Russell and Baez.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is not a solution. That came out wrong. What I'm trying to say is he's not a solution in trying to end this offensive slump that the team is experiencing. He is not the player that's going to pull him out of it. And if putting him on the bench and if Baez is playing well and you can work him in and he could maybe provide a spark like Schwarber has provided, they need something. And
Baez has played well in Arizona.
Yeah. I don't any other. I just it's very disappointing how bad Castro has been. And what's kind of funny is, and this is like a total ridiculous, like stupid fan thing to do, but we've talked about how, one of the reasons that we liked him was how team friendly his contract was and everything. And today I was thinking like, well, at least they're not losing a ton of money on him. At least he has a team friendly contract, and if he's not going to amount to anything now, then I mean
he's still an average baseball player.
well, yeah, and I don't think that I don't, I think we will still see the Castro that he has been in the past. Like, I think we're still going to see really good Starlin Castro, but I'm not sure that's going to happen this season. I mean, would you guys be opposed to him benched?
No, because we've talked about how the best way for a player to work himself out of a slump is by playing, and that's not working. So I think he might need just a little bit of time to kind of clear the air, clear his headspace or something.
Yeah, and I guess me saying, like, are you okay with seeing him benched? That kind of comes out wrong. Like, not like in a punitive. Mm-hmm. You suck, so you're going to ride the bench now. More of a, let's just get somebody in there that can maybe spark the team a little bit, and like you said, Andy, let him clear his head and just work in the cages or whatever he needs to do.
Fresh tactics. Doing what you're doing with the closer role, like, hey, you're not the closer anymore. It doesn't mean we're not going to use you, but we're going to go with who's working it right now.
And I think if you look at this from like a front office standpoint, or a management standpoint, I think you have to kind of like this season that Castro has had does make it easier to potentially slide him off of shortstop. I don't think they're like, oh, good, I'm glad this is happening. So next year,
but to where,
Well, yeah. And for all the people that are like, trade him, again, you don't trade low. You're not gonna. I mean, anybody that's paying attention, I don't think you're going to get near the return on Castro that you would have gotten before, and that you'll probably get if you just wait it out. But that said, it would be really nice if he would turn it around here for the last couple months of the season and actually play a big role, maybe in a playoff run or something like that, so that if they do decide to move him in the off season, they can get something for him.
Yeah. I will say, seeing some of the crazy stuff Russell's doing over at second, I would love to see him play shortstop.
He got a little bit of time in today's game at shortstop, and he made a couple throws over for a couple good plays.
Yeah. So the trade deadline is coming up July 31st, so that's Friday, I believe. The last few years, the Cubs were involved in a lot of rumors because they were selling. Now they're considered buyers, and the trigger has not been pulled on any trades yet, but there are a lot of rumors. So as of now, Sunday night, Andy, what are the latest rumors, or the ones worth mentioning?
Sure. Hoyer's been talking about needing pitching and bench depth, and so that's been the primary focus of most of the rumors that we've seen is what are the Cubs going to do to add effectiveness to their bench, and then also add arms both perhaps to the starting rotation and to the bullpen. So now that Kazmir and Cueto have been moved, I think that trading for pitching will escalate here as the trade deadline also gets closer and closer. Most of the rumors, though, about, say for Cole Hamels, has been on everybody's mind ever since, the no-hitter and even before. It looks like the Rangers and the Dodgers are in the lead to obtain Hamels. At this point, I think that other than that, I mean, there haven't been a lot of rumors involving the Cubs necessarily, but I think at this point it might be good for the Cubs to kind of just go for a middle of the rotation type of arm, somebody that they wouldn't have to give up a lot for. Maybe a Matt Latos from Miami.
I don't think we want him.
I'm not saying I necessarily want him, but I mean, I'm saying that perhaps is more the type of pitcher that would make sense for them rather than a guy like Hamels, for example, that they're probably going to have to give up a lot for.
Right.
Because I think that at this point they should wait until the off season to add another big name pitcher. I don't think it makes that much sense right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was thinking of like an analogy of, Cole Hamels is like a used Mercedes that like, and all you need is a car to get you to work. Like you don't want to overpay for the used, like 10-year-old Mercedes. It's just right now the Cubs need a sort of reliable everyday back end of the rotation maybe guy. And why would you pay extra for Cole Hamels when that's not really what you need?
Well, here I think that they need a guy to bump Hendricks to number 5.
But still, yeah. But even number 4 guy, back end of the rotation. I think Cole Hamels and the Phillies still think that he's a 1-2 when we know he's probably not.
Right.
Like you're gonna have to pay 1-2 price for him when he's not that, and the Cubs don't need that.
Right. And then do you go after, a guy that would be a rental just for this season, would be a free agent that you're not guaranteed to sign? I mean, of course, people have talked about David Price, for example, who's a free agent in 2016. People have connected the Cubs to Mike Leake from the Reds, who's also a free agent in 2016. And I don't know. I mean, say like a Mike Leake guy who would be more of a mid-rotation type of guy to maybe even back of the rotation type of guy. If the Cubs didn't have to give up like a stupid amount of prospects for him or something, that might make sense. But like David Price, I don't think makes sense either. So I think get the guys that make sense. That I don't know. I'm kind of almost like a 2014 mentality. Like a Scott Feldman type of pitcher. Rather than the big names.
Yeah, because to me, if you're going to sell out, it would be to like the Mets to get some of their young starters. Like you don't sell out for Cole Hamels, you sell out for somebody that's much younger and more promising.
But that being said, I would rather them sell out for Cole Hamels than somebody like Price, where you do have him under control for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. You kind of mentioned bench depth, and if you would have asked me like 2 or 3 weeks ago, what should the Cubs be focusing on at the trade deadline, I would have said pitching. And obviously, we've spent a lot of time here now talking about it. I think it's something that even going back to the beginning of the season, it was like, yeah, at the trade deadline, we might see them go for some pitching. But and I'm not saying that the Cubs necessarily need to go out and get like a big bat, like a left fielder, or I mean, I like the way that Coughlin's been playing. I think the Cubs have gotten some good production out of left field this year, but I think that bench depth would be valuable. And we kind of talked about this, that the Cubs are very thin bench wise, and I think that it would be good to have like your Zobrist type, a guy that is can play a lot of positions, but then also like I feel like just when you kind of look at what the Cubs offense has done lately, or what they haven't done lately, and that they're quote unquote veteran leaders being Rizzo and Castro, and David Ross, I guess, or Fowler. I mean, some of those guys somewhat, but it's like it feels like this team really is lacking like a veteran that is the one that pull them out of a slump, and it doesn't. I think right now, just the way this offense has looked, it would be really disappointing if they're able to turn it around and say they get one of the wild card spots, and let's say they've built up a lead so that they win it by a few games. I would hate to see them play offensively in the playoffs like they are right now, and that's kind of what we saw like in 07-08 when the Cubs got into the playoffs and then just did nothing. They just couldn't score runs, and that's, I don't know. I would really like to have like some real bench depth. Somebody
basically what you're saying is you don't want Taylor Teagarden coming off the bench to face Aroldis Chapman.
Right. Yeah, or Herrera. And I mean, like, I understand that those guys have the roles that they play, but I would rather have a Zobrist than Herrera or Teagarden.
Thing is, I mean, like Zobrist is going to cost the Cubs, as you know, the dude is making $7.5 million this season.
Yeah, but I think that they have the money to spend, and they have the prospects to spend. You know.
Yeah.
So I think if the playoffs are a real possibility, I mean, I really don't have. I have faith that this front office, if I think they really do believe that the playoffs are a possibility, and this late in the season, obviously they are. But they were saying that and meaning it and making moves like it. You know, look at when they've called up these prospects. Like to us, it seemed like, whoa, that's kind of premature. Maybe they're really serious that they do think they can win. You know, get in the playoffs. And I think we're going to see them continue to make moves, whether it's pulling up from within the system or whether it's at the trade market. I think this team will get better and will have better players. Here in the next week, if it's the trade deadline, you know, through trades, or in the next month if it's through calling up prospects, because there are still prospects to call up. We've already talked about Baez.
Sure. It's worth noting, too, just as a little asterisk, that Olt has been playing well in Iowa. He's reached base safely in 7 straight games via hits, and he's also homered in back-to-back games. So he could be some pop off of the bench, perhaps, too.
Yeah. So let's get to some listener questions here. I usually ask for these on Sunday mornings on Facebook, usually on Facebook, sometimes on Twitter. So we are. You can find our Facebook at ivnb.com/Facebook. We are at ivnb on Twitter, and also you can send them in through the app, the IVNB app. It's a free iOS and Android app. You can find it in the app stores, and you can. You tap on contact the show. You can email us from directly within the app and email in your questions whenever you want. Or there's a voicemail. You can call the show, it says, and you can leave a voicemail there. Because I've been on the road, I haven't had the ability to play voicemails, and so I'm going to hopefully remember to throw them on here at the end of the show and for this one. And so some of the things will probably be like weeks outdated, but that's because I wasn't able to do it. So yeah, we enjoy those voicemails, so definitely send those in if you're watching a game and you have any thoughts on what you're watching, or after a game if you have thoughts on a particular game or a player's performance in the last number of days. Go ahead and call those in, and we'll definitely play them on here. So this first one here comes from Christopher. He says, would like to point out that I'm super bummed that Johnny Cueto is leaving the division. Note sarcasm. Looking forward to the next few days. Been a while since the Cubs have been buyers despite recent struggles. They have a real chance to make waves the remainder of the season despite my recent frustration for how they're playing recently. Yeah, kind of. I think that's what we've kind of been saying so far. That, yeah. He summed it up. The next one here comes from Jordan. He says, with the Cubs continuing to carry 8 relievers, a bench of Ross, Teagarden, Herrera, and Denorfia might be the worst in baseball, right? Do you think the Cubs make a move for bench help before the trade deadline, or is it more likely they will just wait until Olt/Baez are healthy? Wow, we just already... I didn't even really look ahead to see what his question was, so... I think we just discussed that. So
pretty much. I mean, how dare you call Dino, who's the sickest player, part of one of the worst benches in baseball?
Well, he's like the only. I mean, I like Ross, and we've talked before. It kind of still amazes me that people don't understand the role of a backup catcher.
Yeah.
Well, okay, but I was one of those people too, and it is hard to understand a guy who's looks like, on the surface he catches Lester, and I know he pitched today, but
and did a home run.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm surprised you weren't bragging about that.
But
That was a preseason prediction. You predicted 1 home run.
Oh, good. Don't hit any more.
Right, hit
No,
more. Hit 4. Go ahead and hit 4. That's what I predicted.
You predicted 4?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh,
He's had 4 warning track shots. You can give him that.
He's come really close to homers a lot of times. He's going to hit 4.
Yeah, well,
But
the Cubs came really close to a lot of hits on Saturday too. So look where that gets you.
All I was trying to say is it can be hard to understand a really old guy who hits like 140 and has no power and takes
One
up
of the
a
best
roster
framers
spot.
in baseball.
Yeah, I get it.
And can pitch.
Yep.
Good clubhouse presence.
Yeah. Old. That's what that means. I'm a good clubhouse presence too. I'm about to turn 35.
I'd be a great clubhouse presence.
I know, it'd be
It's
awesome.
kind of sad that that's all we really have going.
I would have been a good clubhouse presence in like the 80s when like beer was provided by the team. Just, hey guys, good game. I'm drinking for 4 innings.
Thanks for your clubhouse presence.
Tomorrow's another day.
I'm still here. That's presents.
Jordan also says, do you think the Cubs have kicked the tires on a Samardzija trade?
I think the Cubs would make a Samardzija trade if it was way in their favor, which I don't think it is.
There's like a weirdness with, that comes with trading with a team that exists in your own city that I think is hard to overcome.
Well, not to mention that Samardzija, leaving, and then I think they're sort of like, well, that was your choice.
I think it's going to be really. I would be shocked if it happened, just because you're right, Andy. The Cubs and the White Sox just don't trade very often, and I'm not real sure why that is. And I just don't think it'll happen. And then I think Samardzija's probably burned some bridges with the Cubs, and I'm not sure he would even want to come back. So I just think that's a relationship that will probably never be, I don't know, patched.
Revisited.
Yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen. Plus now somebody else has 29. Who is it? I can't remember. Is that what they gave Medina? I think I don't remember. But that's the biggest reason I don't think he'll come back.
That's the biggest reason. It's not going to come back. Rafael Soriano has 29.
That's it.
Oh, yeah, and he doesn't have enough money to buy it off of him.
Well, I don't know. I've not been impressed with what I've seen from Soriano yet.
No.
Did you expect different?
Well, I expected a little more velocity, maybe. I don't know. So maybe he'll be gone by the time Samardzija. Yeah, maybe he can just.
Maybe they'll trade Soriano for Samardzija. Straight up.
Okay, Jason from New Mexico says, only knowing he was due to start against us, how much would you be willing to give up for Hamels before his start yesterday? Then if you knew it was worth a win yesterday, how much? And then he said, finally, if you knew he'd pitch a no-hitter, how much would getting him away from Philly be worth?
I want to just say, like what I said earlier, basically, is that you look at his entire body of work this season, and you don't let individual games necessarily affect it that much.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Well, I don't know. I think if I knew he was going to... Well, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's hard to... I mean, I kind of enjoy Jason's answer or question. I think that's a good question. It's kind of hard to think about. I mean, you kind of have an idea what a win is worth, but it's hard to think about the remainder of that contract and how things might end up and what all the repercussions of a trade or whatever, and you can't really look at it on one day, That said, I would much rather see. I would have rather seen him pitch a no-hitter for the Cubs than against the Cubs. Well, that's got to be worth something.
It isn't worth a young prospect.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of young prospect.
I'm not real. I'm not I like these Cubs prospects, and I've really enjoyed watching them come through the system, but I know that some of them are there, or the Cubs have this many good prospects partially to trade some of them away, and I don't really feel like of the prospects that are left in the minor leagues, I don't think I would be devastated to see any of them traded. Where I probably would have, and obviously I don't think the Cubs were ever going to do it, but like I would not want to see Schwarber or Bryant traded. With any of them that are left there, I think I would be able to handle a trade involving them.
I think I'd be able to handle the trade, but not for 30-plus-year-old pitchers.
The Cubs are making Gerardo Concepcion available.
Yeah, that'll bring in a lot. Oh man. I'll tell you what. Maybe they could like send them for like one of the city construction workers to come help Wrigley get done a little bit quicker. They could trade them for one city construction worker.
From Philly?
Yeah, sure, whatever. I don't care where they're from.
Those guys are good.
Yeah, those Phillies.
I can't. We kind of talked about Gerardo Concepcion before we started recording. I just can't believe. I've seen him pitch before, so I can believe that he's that bad. Well, remember we saw him pitch in the Quad Cities for the Peoria Chiefs, and I think they scored like 7 runs off of him in the first inning, and it was bad. It was really bad. But okay, next question here comes from JD. Who is at JD_Brown9 on Twitter, and he says, hypothetical. Baez plays well in rehab for the next week, 4 to 5 games of which are at AAA. How long until he's the regular starter at second base?
So that assumes that probably Russell gets moved over to shortstop,
Mm-hmm.
and Castro's the odd man out.
Yeah.
Well, in 4 to 5 weeks, we're in.
No, he says next week.
4 to 5 games.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Did I say weeks?
That's the way you read it. But
I meant.
now I'm looking at it and seeing
He
it's
says
4 to 5
Baez
games.
plays well in rehab for the next week.
Okay.
4 to 5 games of which are at AAA.
Even 4 to 5 games. I mean, you're into August, and I don't know. Certainly by September, Baez is up there, and
well, I think you want him to get. I could see this happening. I'm not saying this would happen, but I could see if he plays really well, and you want him to be able to get at bats. I think you have to take starts away from Castro. I mean, I'm not saying you just like put him on the bench and he's never getting in there, but I think you have to put him on the bench for some games.
Sure.
To let Baez get at bats and Russell, and I don't know. Sucks that we even have to think about benching Starlin Castro, but
It's the answer to the question of all these shortstops.
yeah, I was thinking like before it was what are we going to do with all these shortstops? Now it's going to be are we going to trade for a shortstop?
I'm going to play short.
This next one comes from Mitch, and he says, with the play of Kyle Schwarber and the lack of Cubs offense, how long until he will end up staying with the major league team? I think he's up for the year.
Yeah, I think
too.
so now. Yeah. At first, when you mentioned that, Corey, I thought, no, I don't think so. But now it seems.
He
Seems
played
to be
left
the case.
field today a little bit too, which we could see more of in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to find a way to keep his bat in the lineup.
Yeah, if you could get Montero catching and him in the lineup, I think that'd be ideal. I just don't think right now at this point defensively you want him there every day.
No, but you probably do want his bat every day.
Mm-hmm.
This next question comes from Bill, and he said, chances on a rental which we kind of already talked about. And he said also, what prospects have high value that would be Rule 5 eligible after this year? Have you guys looked to see who is Rule 5 eligible at the end of this year that's
No.
in the Cubs system? I know Dan Vogelbach is, and Jamer Candelario. I think those have to be two that would have the most value. I don't have the list in front of me. I should, but I don't.
I don't know either. Sorry.
It's kind of weird to think about Dan Vogelbach being Rule 5 eligible already.
Yeah.
And,
and
he's still 2 years away.
Yeah. Do they burn a roster spot for protection for a guy like that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's
why I think you could see some of these guys tossed into a trade.
Yeah.
The Rule 5 guys are going to be the first to go.
Yeah, I think we could see Dan because if at the same time, like I think some of these players would still be somewhat safe because if another team takes them in a Rule 5 draft, they have to put them on their 25 man, and I don't think. Definitely not a National League team. I suppose maybe an American League team.
That's still a stretch, yeah.
Yeah, but if it's an American League team that is kind of, weak, I guess, and could maybe waste a spot on a player like him, maybe, but I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him traded in a deal to an American League team sometime soon.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Gerardo Concepcion does not have high value, I would think. And I think that the Cubs don't really need to worry about losing him in the Rule 5. Billy says, if Baez still qualified as a prospect, where would he rank in your estimation?
Like in all of baseball?
Well, let's just say within the Cubs system. I'm not sure what he means, but let's say within the Cubs system. I think he'd have to be right there at the top.
Yeah.
Because the ceiling is still there.
Yeah.
And then as far as, I guess in general baseball, I don't know, maybe he would fall into the teens or something, maybe even way worse. I know that...
I think he'd be top 25.
Yeah, but the floor... The ceiling is high, and we've kind of seen the floor, so
yes.
I'm not sure.
His stock is definitely down in the last year.
Yeah, I think as fans, we're more likely to look at the ceiling and kind of judge things off of that, but the floor is pretty bad.
Yes.
Don says, do you think both Montero and Ross will be on the team next year? What is their contract situation?
Ross has a 2-year deal that is through 2016. Montero's with the Cubs on a 5-year contract, so he has he's going to be with the team for the foreseeable future. But yeah, Ross is signed through next year. Now, I don't know whether he's still there next year or not, but
yeah,
I think he will be.
I think so too.
Well, I think, like we were talking earlier, I think he's one of the few real veterans, and I think the Cubs need that. If you can have a backup catcher that is one of the best framers in baseball and can provide some leadership in the clubhouse and stuff like that, and can apparently go out and pitch and then hit a home run, I don't. I think he'll be on the team.
Oh, and I should say that the Cubs, since the Cubs traded with Arizona for Miggy Montt, he's signed through 2017. So it's technically a 3-year deal with the Cubs.
Yeah, so then kind of to go along, to go along with that, Don asks the next question: are you comfortable with Schwarber catching nearly every day in 2016?
No, not yet.
I think that is the reason for the Miguel Montero contract length, is because of how long they thought it might take for Schwarber to be ready.
Yeah, and I think Montero for me has been like I didn't know anything about pitch framing or what defensive metrics in catching were, but I just sort of forgot about it, and then you see Montero and even Ross work behind the plate. It really, really quickly illustrates how important it is. And again, like I had no idea, but Montero back there, like it's just they're so good. It's sort of going from that back to a little bit rough. It stands out pretty prominently.
Yeah, I think Montero's going to still be your normal starting catcher in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be that 2017 season. That might be when we see maybe Schwarber kind of step into the starter role and Montero maybe become the backup catcher.
And that is if he makes it that far. I mean, who knows if he moves off a catcher before then.
Yeah, but I'm not comfortable. Schwarber, I hadn't really seen him catch that much, but in watching him here, the times that he has caught in the last week, that ball pops out of his glove a lot.
Yeah. He really like stabs at balls that aren't where he expected them to be, whereas I think you see Ross and Montero like able to kind of surround balls that weren't quite in the location they expected a little bit better.
Yeah.
So you see him like do a quick like kind of stab at balls that are like a little bit away from where the location was that he expected.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what for me it has been so great to see about Montero is like their sort of lack of movement behind the plate is what makes them so good, whereas Schwarber's got a lot going on back there. And it doesn't make him a bad catcher. He's just not even close to those other guys.
Yeah. Tim, he says, what are your feelings on the current hitting coach? If I remember correctly, he was good with the Astros, but hired before Madden. Do you think there will be a change before the end of the year if hitting doesn't improve? And this is something where I kind of saw some people talk like questioning the hitting coach, John Maley, maybe a week or 10 days ago, and at the time it seemed kind of ridiculous. And now I'm like, well, they're definitely not hitting the ball, and they're definitely not. If the struggles are because of the scouting that other teams have done, and exposing the weaknesses of Cubs batters, I mean, some of that does fall on the hitting coach, I think.
Well, for sure. I mean, like, yeah, if the struggles, if like they continue sort of this trend that they've gotten started recently, yeah, he's probably done, right? I mean, like his job is to help these young hitters to continue to develop and be able to adjust. Like if they can't adjust,
right,
to other teams like having a good scouting report on them.
Right. I mean, we saw Dale Swaim probably lose his job because he did not develop young hitters.
He's currently the hitting coach for one of the better teams in baseball.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked. I don't know if that's going to happen during. Do you think it would happen during the season? I guess I could kind of see it.
I don't think it'll happen during the season. I think it would happen at the. Well, I guess they don't want it to go too long. I suppose you're right. I mean, with the young hitters.
Yeah, but what would a transition at this point in the season mean for these guys? Like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they really like him. And
you might
dump him and
you might mess with clubhouse morale and all that.
Unless it's Manny, who everyone seems to love.
Right. But I mean, and the thing is that Maley has a history of, he was with the Astros, and before that he was with the Marlins. He has a history of developing young hitters, and so I would not be. I don't really know how much. Obviously, I don't think any fan knows how much of this stuff you can pin on a hitting coach. And sometimes baseball teams, especially in the past, or I guess maybe more traditionally run baseball teams, or organizations have fired a hitting coach just because something had to be done, and that doesn't really seem like how the Cubs are run right now. I think that if they feel like he's the right guy, even if the team isn't hitting right now, they're not going to just like fire him because somebody's got to take the fall for this, which a lot of teams do, and a lot of just in sports in general, you kind of see that happen. But I think like as with the change in baseball that we've seen in front offices and stuff like that, I think we'll see that happening less.
I think it's obvious. You fire Madden, you hire Sandberg.
Oh man,
and we're off and running.
I think maybe I have a muscle flex involving something, yeah, but I'm not even sure. I don't even remember what I took. Couple more here. This one comes from Luis, and he says, "What would you put for an over/under on the days that Castro has before he goes on the DL with a mysterious injury, and Baez comes up to play second? Yes, Russell shifts over to short. I believe this happens the day after Castro's average dips below Russell's."
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
Yeah.
Wait, Castro's average has dipped below Russell's.
Yeah.
It's well below Russell's, isn't it?
What is Russell's right now?
I don't think Russell's is great.
It's not
above
great.
235?
It's definitely above 235, though. But anyway.
Are you guys looking that up right now?
Yeah, I'm seconds away. Oh, damn. It's only his minor. Sorry. I don't have it. For whatever reason, Baseball Reference only wants to show me his minor league numbers.
Well, now I'm trying to look it up.
Well, it doesn't matter.
It does matter. Yeah.
Oh, it is below. It's 232. Russell is 232.
Well, I'll be darned.
Yeah, so he's got 3 points.
Even after Russell hit a home run today, too, right? Or was that? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I was distracted by stats. Okay. Let's see here. All right. I'm gonna have to pause this. I'm gonna have to edit this for a second. All right. I want to.
Maybe you should edit us all like not scrambling to find that out.
I think it's liquid gold.
Why does like MLB's stats sometimes really suck?
The funny thing is, like every site updates at a different time.
Yeah, the player pages suck for MLB. Like the team ones are okay, but the individual player ones are really bad.
I actually think ESPN is the fastest to update.
Oh yeah.
If you're looking for current, I think ESPN is the.
Okay, so here's a question, last one from Steven, and he says, this was emailed in. The Cubs seem to have a problem playing to the level of their competition. For example, splitting a 4-game set with the Cards, then promptly dropping 2 of 3 to the White Sox. It's obviously a mental thing when we can sweep teams like the Mets, beat up on the Dodgers' elite pitchers, and then have to scrap and struggle to eke out a 1-run win against the Reds. Steven sent us a while back, and I'm sure he would include the Phillies in this. He says, what do you guys think? Is this an example of mental toughness that we're able to hang with the good teams, or the yips when we're playing lousy teams? Or is it youth? Huh?
Sorry, go ahead and finish.
Is it just youth, or is it just baseball?
So this was pretty much my scary stat right here. And so I'll jump in with this, and then you guys can answer the direct questions about why. But to give you the numbers, for teams that are under 500, the Cubs are 25 and 26. And for teams that are over 500, they are 26 and 20. And that includes the 7-0 versus the Mets, 6 and 4 against the Pirates. They are terrible against Cardinals, but every other good team that they've played, they've either played at 500 or dominated them. So, and then a lot of the teams that are terrible, like the Phillies, they just can't seem to match. The Brewers are another good example. So yeah, I'll let you guys answer
Well, I
why
think
you think that happens.
I think it's baseball and it's youth. I think it's a mixture of those two things and somewhere in between. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, now that you mentioned the records, Kurt, it's not that huge of a difference between the two. So I think it's a combination of just youth and baseball, like Corey said, but also too. I mean, the Cubs. I think like veterans know how to manufacture adrenaline when they're playing against teams that maybe don't that they might tend to overlook, that are aren't playing well that particular season. And so that's something young players have to learn how to do, as well as to kind of play at the same level of effort and energy against everybody. I don't know if I even formed a coherent sentence there, but I sure tried.
Yeah, I guess it's
You
good
gave a lot of effort on that one, Andy.
if they do squeak out a playoff spot in that second wild card. That's good news that they play really well against the good teams.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yep. So I think it is youth and it's baseball.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if it's I don't know if it's a lack of mental toughness, or he said it's that they have mental toughness when they're hanging with good teams and then the yips when they play a lousy team. I don't necessarily even think that they're overlooking teams. I think right now they're just not really
You don't think there's a difference between them playing the Cardinals and playing the Miami Marlins? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. But I don't know if I don't think that the Cubs overlooked the Phillies this weekend. I don't think they were looking ahead to the Rockies or the Brewers.
Okay, yeah, I see your point. That's a good point.
All right. So well, thanks for your scary stat there, Kurt.
Well, I should actually, you guys just mentioned the Cardinals, and I have this written down on my notepad, and so I did a quick recalculation. If you take the Cardinals out of the equation, who they're terrible against, they're actually 22-11 against teams over 500.
Oh wow!
So, because they're 4-9 against Cardinals, and that's the only good team that they have not either matched or beaten soundly.
Figures. I would gladly give up half of those Mets wins.
Yes.
I mean, not that you can give up half.
Or if you could just sort of even them out, 7-0 to 4-9.
I'll trade you 4 Mets wins for
kids on the middle school playground are trading wins.
So internet muscle flexes. Do you guys have any tonight?
I have one.
No.
Okay, I have 3. I don't know. Here's where I'm at with the internet muscle flexes. When things are I shouldn't say as bad as they are right now, because we have seen things a lot worse in recent years. But with where a lot of fans are at mentally right now with this team, I can't really dig too deep for internet muscle flexes because it's just...
You don't have to dig too deep. Just go to Instagram.
I know, it's just not a place I want to go, though. I almost thought, let's just skip it. It's just
Yeah. I will say it is hard to... the trolls aren't worth reading sometimes, but that's kind of all there is on Instagram is trolls.
Yeah.
You don't want to give them too much attention.
I'll read 2 of mine that kind of go hand in hand, then Andy, you can do yours.
Sure.
So this one says, the first person says, I agree, Madden should be shown the door. He can take Lester and Ross with him. Yep. Look, they just...
I don't know what's better, the muscle flex or Andy's reaction.
Be shown the door.
Yeah, he sucks.
Hey, you get swept by the Phillies, I don't care. You're done.
Door.
Take Lester and Ross with you.
Hire Sandberg, they won't lose to the Phillies.
Well, to step it up a notch, the next commenter says Theo needs to go. I love I love the rookies, but he made equally as many terrible moves. I believe this team will be good, but we should mix in some quality free agents. Like they
Jeez.
Holy
Fire.
crap.
Fire Theo. He's terrible. They certainly can't scout or draft.
Right.
I mean, that's clear.
Yeah.
Holy
Oh.
crap.
So go ahead, Andy.
Oh, jeez. Madden should be shown the door. Okay, here's one that I liked. And this commenter says, Cubs fan, comma, they still choke. What? Okay, Cubs fan, comma, they still choke. Period. Thank God for the Blackhawks. 5 smiley face emojis.
Hmm.
Cubs fan, they still choke. Huh?
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay, so I have one more. This is from Cubs Instagram, and the picture was it was Chris Bryant autographing stuff for fans, and this commenter says, obviously thinking that Chris Bryant would be reading the comments on from Cubs Instagram. It says, "Don't swing if it's not a strike. You have 114."
Oh.
I don't know.
Genius.
Yipes.
Okay.
It can be pretty depressing looking through Internet Muscle Flex.
I think that's the reason I did not want to do it this week.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, I don't want to go there, but I did.
We did. You're welcome.
right. All right, well, that does it for this episode. We will be back on track with 2 episodes a week now that I'm back home. And also, I will get back on the wagon with the Daily Northside Recap. If you have not heard that podcast, it's a Monday through Friday daily show that I do, and it recaps all of the Cubs, or all of the teams in the Cubs organization from the Cubs down to Low A South Bend. I really slacked on that podcast here in the last few weeks while I was on vacation, but I will start that back up. And if you haven't heard it, you can listen at dailynorthsiderecap.com, or you can find it wherever you listen to podcasts. It's like 3 to 5 minutes. It just kind of catches you up. So this episode was brought to you by all of our Patreon supporters. A special thanks to our Hall of Fame level contributors. And I've got the list here in front of me. Sorry. I'm still getting the list in front of me. Oh, heavens. Okay, here we go. So the Hall of Fame level contributors are Dizzle. Oh gosh, I'm not editing this too, so I'm just gonna. This is what you get. Dizzle, David, Jeremy, Chad, Dallas, Charles, Stephen, Stuart, Guy, Peter, Jeff, Jane, Shane, Michael, John, Andrew, Craig, Rick, Luke, and the associate producers are Matthew Macer, Anthony Hutfels, Joshua Hansen, Ryan Shores, Brian Hunt, Tim Marr, Jason from New Mexico, and the Quad Cities' own Jason Nunn. And we'd like to thank those of you that have joined the Patreon campaign here lately. Thanks to Douglas Hahn, Jeff, and Chad McKenna. Patreon is like Kickstarter, and it helps us pay the podcasting bills and continue improving the podcast. So if you enjoy this podcast and you would like to help us accomplish those things, you can go to patreon.com/IVNV. There are several monthly pledging levels. They start at just $1 a month. So for about the price of 1 beer at Wrigley, you can pledge $1 a month for an entire year for IVNV. And so I guess that's 1 beer at Wrigley or 3 pitchers at Duffy's. So if you enjoy the podcast and you enjoy this Cubs talk, and maybe you would buy us a beer, then head over to patreon.com/IVNV. That's patreon.com/IVNV. So let's hope that the Cubs can get things back on track here. They are at Wrigley for a 3-game series with the Rockies. That's Monday through Wednesday. Andy and I will be back Wednesday night with the midweek episode to talk about those games and any trades that might happen or anything else that happens with the Cubs. Thank you for listening, and until Wednesday night, go Cubs. All right.
And we're clear.
Yeah, man. I did not want to edit that, so I just muzzled through it. Wednesday. That's how my dad says Wednesday.
No,
Wednesday.
that's how my dad would have said it too. Oh, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Oh, all right. I still have to do the Daily Northside recap tonight. I haven't even started.
Darn it.
So,
And, yeah.
do you know? Do we know what time? Did you set a time for what time we're leaving the bus trip morning?
I'm gonna call tomorrow.
Like the bus company and see what they're.
Yeah. I mean, they basically just asked me, so I'm gonna tell them that we would like. I think I'm gonna shoot for 8 o'clock. Just because we have a couple. Yeah, we have a couple stops to make. It's a 3 o'clock game, but it just seems like we never have enough time in Wrigleyville. It's basically like, oh, you go get something to eat if you're lucky, and we just have to go into the game. So, and I know that there's some people, some listeners up in Chicago that want to hang out before the game. So, I'm gonna say 8 o'clock.
8's better than 7.
Yeah. What I'll probably say is that we won't really pull away till 8. So.
Cool.
So Lana's definitely not going.
Yeah, 90% not. I mean, I think we totally miscalculated what she would be capable of doing, but.
Yeah. Well, we'll just I'll just leave her ticket. Or if you have somebody else you want to bring.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look around and I'll try to let you know ASAP just so you can at least have a chance at selling it if nobody's coming. But...
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll sell it to a friend for $50. Yeah, it really was just like a poor judgment on our part and sort of thinking she could do it, but she can't.
Right.
It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah.
Where you're gonna be at.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
It's a long day.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other side of it is he actually has never been away from her for that long. But I know that sounds like a crazy attachment parent thing to say, but he's not maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 hours is about the longest he's been away from her.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll
I'm gonna get going so I can
let you know. Cool.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. And then Andy, we'll just plan on the normal time on Wednesday night.
Okay.
And then also next Sunday,
well,
I won't be home. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with you about Wednesday night. That's going to be the night that we're probably moving.
Okay.
So, but shoot, I forgot about this. Well, I don't know. I'll be in contact with you about it early this week.
Let's see here. I don't think I have anything going on Wednesday, so if it has to, Andy, if you have to bail, let me know. Let me know. I might be able to fill in for you.
Okay.
Maybe.
We'll figure it out.
I'm still a maybe, but I have to look.
Okay. And then Andy, depending on how my back's doing, let me know if you need help.
Okay.
I mean, I can definitely carry light stuff.
I think that we're planning on hiring a couple of guys from her store to come help us. So should be pretty solid.
Okay.
So you
Well, let
guys,
me know though. I mean, I don't really have much to do, so.
Okay.
so you guys are moving to Geneseo. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. Maple Leafs.
Yep.
That's kind of funny that like now none of us will live where
in the
we
Quad
started.
Cities.
That was the goal.
Oh, and by the way, I think I maybe told you guys this, but I don't remember. But the guys that are flying in from Florida want to hang out the night before, and then I think maybe
The bus trip?
yeah, and I think the guys coming in from Des Moines. There's some guys coming in from Des Moines, and I think they're going to come up the night before too. So I said, like, maybe we could just do. And it was funny. I got an email last week, and it was from someone I don't think I know in person, like from the Quad Cities, and it was like, so when are you guys going to do a meetup in the Quad Cities? I was like, we're going to do them in our hometown.
Well, I'm not sure yet, but I might be staying in the Quad Cities like the night before we leave at my in-laws, so
Okay.
I might be able to do something. I haven't really set anything yet.
I just thought we could maybe go to Bent River or something like that, or just kind of play it by ear downtown Moline. But yeah, I think
Are you coming from home?
I think so. My plan was originally to go up Saturday morning, but I think we're gonna go up Friday and then stay up there at my parents' house.
Okay.
So
Cool, man.
So, yeah, just think about it if you're in town, if you want to hang out that night. I thought, unfortunately, the Cubs play in the afternoon. It would be nice if they were playing a night game, but we could still hang out.
Yeah.
Especially those dudes coming all the way up from Florida.
Can't make time for you guys. Sorry.
It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to the bus trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
A lot more
I'm off.
listeners on it this year.
Yeah,
I'm
and
off
that's
on
cool.
Friday, so I should be able to do something.
Oh, cool. All right, I'm gonna get going.
All right, guys. Have
All
a
right,
good
talk
one.
to you later.
Good luck
Later.
with the move, Andrew.
Yeah,
Thank you.
see ya.
See ya.
See ya.